What's going on YouTube? It's Pico.Blurred. We're just gonna jump right into this video. I'm gonna show you guys how to do a low fade on wavelength hair, colored hair at that. So let's go ahead and jump into this tutorial. I'm starting with my bald line. You guys saw at the beginning, she already had a bald taper. So now we're just bringing that bald line all the way around the head. And she wanted it low, below the occipital bone. So that's why I'm dropping it towards the back. I think it would have looked a little bit better and more gradient had I went straight across the back, but you got to give your client what they want. She is one of my classmates in barber school. She usually cuts her own hair, but she just got it colored. She wanted a good bald fade around, so that's why she came to me and let me do this cut for you guys. But as you can see, it's pretty low. The haircut is already pretty short. I think it's about a 1.5 with the grain on top. So we're just going to go ahead and give her this bald fade. Make sure everything's nice and blurry, nice and bald at the bottom. She can't take a shaver, so we don't use an electric shaver after this. The lowest length is just going to be that trimmer. So I'm setting in all the way around the head, making sure that the line is nice and even and punched in, and then we're going to bald everything at the bottom with the trimmer. Now I take my clipper with the lever all the way open, and I'm setting in my first guideline about 1 inch up. We have a lot of room to work with, especially in the back, so that's why I'm going about 1 inch up. And when I'm setting in this line, I'm following the same exact shape that I did with my bald guideline. And the tools that I'm using today in this video, I'm using my Babyliss Low Pro FX1s, the clipper and the trimmer with the blue blade on them. I love these clippers ever since I got them. The fact that I can just change out the battery when it's going dead and have another one on the charger is freaking awesome, man. I don't have to worry about cords and having it plugged up or whatever when it's dying. I just switch out that battery and make sure I have an extra one on the charge. So when this one dies, I can just plug that up and pop another one in. And the batteries are universal with the trimmer and the clipper, so you can use them for both. But again, I'm going up about 1 inch. And once I go ahead and set in my first guideline, I'm gonna begin to fade that out. So you guys know my process. If you've seen my tutorials before, I start open, and as I go down, I close the lever little by little until that bald line is completely gone. And really notice how I'm using a lot of the corner. I'm not really using the full blade when I'm blending that guideline out. I'm using a lot of the corners of the blade, just trying to hit every other hair until that line at the bottom is completely gone. Again, I'm starting open because that's what I set in this guideline with. And as I go down towards that bottom line, I'm closing it each notch until that line is gone. That's the easiest way for me to fade. That's what works for me, because I know that if I set it in, I can take it out with whatever I set it in. So I start open because I don't want to take the line too high, and I go down. It just puts it into perspective. It keeps me looking at the blend, and so I know where I'm at. And guys, whenever you are fading, have a brush or a comb in your hand so you can lay down the hair, because this is curly hair. If you go in with your clippers, it's going to leave the hair where you pushed up, so you need to be able to brush it down. So have a brush and a comb in your hand. Also, it clears out debris so you can see clearly what you're doing. If you cut the hair and the hair is just staying there and you don't have a brush or a comb, all that hair that you just cut is going to be in the way, so you can't really see how your blend is coming. You can't really see that guideline and the line you're trying to take out. So make sure you have a brush or a comb so you can brush away all the hair that you just cut. Keep your canvas clean so you can see what you're doing when you're doing this fade. But I'm going ahead and let you guys just watch this process as we get rid of this guideline, and I'll catch you guys when we get to our next guideline. All right, once you guys are happy with that initial bald line area, it's time to set in your next guideline. I'm going up again about an inch with my number 1 guard all the way open. I've been switching back and forth with this. It depends on the length of hair to me, but sometimes I'll put in this guideline with the 1.5 guard closed or the 1 guard all the way open. On this one, I chose to go with the 1 guard all the way open because the hair is already super short. So I'm just gonna punch in this line again, going about an inch up all the way around, following the shape of my last guideline, making sure I do a couple passes so that the hair is all at that number 1 guard open length. And here, so I went against the grain. Now I'm going with the grain with the lever closed, just to lay the hair down and soften up any line above that 1 guard. And now again, I'm continuing to soften that area. I have my half guard on with the lever open, and I'm going with the grain, softening to prepare to go against the grain. Now, when you're using your clippers and your guards are on, you have to think about how to go against the grain and go with the grain. So for example, if I'm using my half guard right here, let's say I use my half guard closed and I'm going with the grain. Against the grain, you want to use your lever open. So it's a half size difference. So again, if I'm going against the grain, lever open with my half guard, the same length would be a lever closed with the grain. It's a half step, it's a half size difference. And again, basically when you're going with the grain, you're just softening and laying the hair down. So I already went ahead and did with the grain with my half guard, softening that area, and now it's time to blend that out. So I'm using lever play with my half guard to get out any darkness and any lines that I see. And now I go a step up again just to clean up any areas that I might have missed. So I'm using my 1 guard and I'm doing lever play, using my corners, trying to get rid of any darkness or any lines in that fade, because we're not gonna go up pretty much any more than this. Like I said, all the way around the head, it was about a 1.5 closed with the grain, or 1.5 or a 1 guard open with the grain. So I'm just making sure that the blend in this below the parietal ridge and this occipital bone area looks nice and gradient, and there isn't any heavy lines of demarcation, any dark spots, any hair that's not how I want it to be. So I'm just doing my detail work, flipping through the guards, making sure everything looks gradient, blended, and is as blurry as possible. And I actually got through this fade pretty fast. It wasn't a whole bunch of steps because the hair was so short, but I noticed that before, when I was doing my fade steps, I'd try to focus on detail work too much as I'm fading. And I've noticed that I've gotten a little bit faster if I just go through my process and then save the detail work for the end. Because if I spend too much time trying to detail during the haircut, now I'm wasting too much time in those areas when I can just get through my steps and then detail afterwards. And I'm pretty much done with the fade. So she asked me to retouch up her design. Obviously you saw she already had the design, so basically I'm just going in and I'm retouching those lines and making sure they look extra sharp. And when you're doing design work, there's 2 sides to the line. So I have my blade set in the regular position when I'm doing the top of the line, but you have to get it really sharp, you have to hit both sides of the line. So you'll see me flip over my trimmers and hold them upside down and hit the bottom line. That's what's really gonna set your design lines apart. It's really gonna make it pop, because if you just hit one side of the line, it's not gonna be as thick or as sharp as you want it. So you have to flip your trimmer over, you have to hit both sides. And you're not really digging in, you have to kind of know your pressure that you're putting on. I usually don't have a ton of pressure because my blades are pretty zero gap, they're set pretty close, so they are pretty sharp. But I know how to apply pressure on my trimmers so they're not cutting my client, and I can get the line pretty sharp with just my trimmers. I didn't go in after this and use a straight razor. Usually I would, but I just wanted to get this design sharp. So I just used my trimmers and etched in these lines. Like I said, you need to make sure that you know the pressure that you're using. I like to have an anchor with my pinky finger on the skin or my index finger, so I know how much pressure I'm applying to the head, because again, these are really sharp. You can cut somebody with these trimmers if you apply too much pressure. But as I'm going in, I'm hitting every line. I'm etching it in like I'm drawing with a pencil. I'm trying not to take too much of the line at one time so that I don't mess up. It's like drawing. You have to take it little by little and make sure the design is set in. And again, once you're done setting it in, you're gonna flip the trimmer upside down and hit the bottom line. Depending on the thickness that you want, that determines how far you push that line down. Here, I'm just trying to make sure that everything is nice and sharp. But now you guys can see that design starting to pop. It's coming together. You just got to take your time when doing designs, because it's one of those things that you're going to see every single detail. So make sure that it's nice and precise and sharp, and it's going to come out okay. So now I'm done with the design. It's time to finish out this haircut. So I'm putting on some wave foam, and I take out my Torino Pro wave brush. It's a medium bristle brush, and I'm brushing the hair with the grain, laying down those curls, just getting it laid down. She doesn't really want to do all the brush work and have super poppy waves, but she just wants her curls laid down. So that's why I use the foam to lay the hair down, and then I'm using my brush to flatten all that out. Now we're gonna throw a do-rag on. I'm gonna set her up under the dryer, probably for about 5 minutes, I think is what I put it on, to really set the product in place. And after that dryer, it's time to reveal the cut. Are you guys ready? There it goes. It's all laid down. I'm brushing again, making sure that the hair is really laid. After I'm done brushing for a bit, I'm going to take my clipper with the lever closed, and I'm going with the grain, kind of floating over the head. I'm just knocking off all the flyaway hairs that are sticking up. And you kind of want to, like I said, you want to glide. You don't want to dig in because you might patch them. So make sure that you're kind of on the heel of the blade, and you're just going down with the grain, knocking off any hairs that are sticking up or sticking out. This is what's going to set the waves apart from every other barber, because you don't want flyaways. It's going to throw off the look of the waves. But this is the final step. I'm adding the alcohol just so she doesn't have any infections or razor bumps or any of that sort of thing. And then this is how it turned out. This is the after. That design, the fade, looking nice and gradient. There's no dark spots or no lines. I didn't do an edge up because she said that her edge up is pushed back. She usually does her edge up and pushes herself back, so she didn't really need to clean up on the edge up. But that's the blend, that's the design. I hope you guys liked this tutorial. I hope you guys liked the haircut. If you could, hit that subscribe button. That's the best way to support the channel. And I'll catch you guys on the next video. It's your boy Pico.Blurred. I'm out. Peace.
Oh my god, is that Pico.Blurred?